Yeah, so Lehigh is probably a really good comparison. Lehigh's population itself is bigger than ours, about 55,000.
Okay.
In northern Utah County, there's a rec center with a pool in Lehigh. There's a rec center with a pool in American Fork.
That's right.
And there's a rec center with a pool in Orem and Provo. So there isn't anything south of Provo. So Lehigh, while it has a bigger population, there's also one that services that northern Utah County in American Fork. Now, so you take Lehigh and then maybe you go out and grab Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain. You've got a population that's probably similar, maybe a little bit bigger, but similar to, say, Spanish Fork and South. Okay? But so the facility, let's talk about the pool, for example. The pool is smaller than Provo's pool. Some components are the same, like a 25 by 25 meter pool that you swim in.
You wouldn't want to build a small pool.
You can't, right? It's
Yeah.
gotta be,
You gotta have a competition pool.
it's a high school competition pool. But these elements might be a little bit smaller. But some of the things that make Provo's facility really successful are the fact that they draw because this rock wall is really cool or whatever else. So you want to have amenities that would make people want to come, because if people come, then you have more money that funds it, that runs it, and you don't have a subsidy, or you have a lower subsidy, which is important to managing the facility. And this is just a very, very, very rough concept. It isn't how it would be laid out. It's just a rough concept.
Okay.
We wanted to be able to give you at least some idea of how it could be and what amenities it would have.
Right.
At one point, we didn't have this field house component. We had another basketball court, and we were able to reconfigure the basketball courts to get 2 courts instead of 3 courts, and make them a little bit smaller in the space that the courts took, and add a field house without changing the price. So before we added the field house, it was about 110,000 square feet for the senior center and the pool and the rec center. Well, that's what Provo's is. It's a senior center, a pool, and it's 160,000 square feet. So you get a sense that it's about 50,000 square feet smaller.
Okay.
Now we added this field house, which is really cheap, big space. So it kind of skews that comparison a little bit, and Provo's doesn't have a field house.
Okay.
But it's cheap, big space. So I'm kind of off the pool, but Provo has 4 basketball courts. We had 3, and now we have 2 and a field house.
What would they use the field house for?
So this is a picture of a field house up in, I think, Park City.
So like soccer,
So it would
indoor
have,
soccer?
indoor soccer, indoor football.
Cool.
You could have batting cages. You could have golf, swinging cages in the wintertime, and things like that, because you have a turf surface you can play on.
Cool.
The field house is 30 yards by 70 yards. So to answer your question, it is smaller than Provo's, but as you said, our population is smaller than Provo's. It doesn't need to be that same size. So we need to double the size of the library. We looked at doing it here, and this is a mock-up, if you will. If we were to do the library on City Park, and to answer those questions, the fundamental missing elements of a parking lot, drive-up, drop-box access, and space, we'd have to do something similar to this. Put parking right next to the library. You could put parking on both sides, and you'd have to build out, which obviously moves into the park. So if you do it here, you take away the park. You'd alter the park from what it is today. So you really can't do anything at the library without altering the park. Someone said, well, then you could maybe do an underground parking lot. Underground parking lots are really expensive to build. You could build a 3rd story. The building itself can't handle a 3rd story, so in order to build a 3rd story, you'd have to knock it down and start over, which is just as expensive, if not more expensive, than building something new, maybe in another location.
In conjunction.
Yeah. And then the 3rd element, like I was talking about with the parking lot, you start knocking down all the trees and the space in the park in the center of town. And the people that we've worked with, the citizen groups and different groups we've spoken to, they've said, leave the central park alone. They aren't making any more space around the central part of town. It's all taken, if you will, by houses and buildings. So leave Central Park, leave City Park alone. So the library would be about double the size if it were built alone. In the Life Center concept, the library can be a little bit smaller, about 18,000 square feet. And then because it's sharing space, some of those program rooms that it needs that are big open spaces, the senior center also needs big open spaces. So I don't need to build two, I would just build one.
Right.
The senior center doesn't use it all the time, and neither does the library. So the shared concept comes into play where you say, from 11 to 2, it's senior center space, and before that and after that, it's library space. Gotcha. And now you're using it all day long instead of it sitting idle. Yeah. So that's where the shared concept comes in.
So I knew that they were looking at putting it in here, right? I did know that from the research that I had done. And why have they chosen this spot as to maybe other spots on the outskirts, like over by Maple Mountain High School, where there's open space there right now?
Absolutely, great question.
Why would they go to? And I know this is closer to a central part of town. I guess maybe not central part is the word, but. I don't know.
Okay.
Why take away green space rather than some dirt that's not even been?
Great question. So, one very quick answer to that is up. So you mentioned maybe up by Maple Mountain High School, for example, in Farmfield. The city doesn't own any of that property, and so to go and buy 10 acres, 12 acres, however much acreage you need to build this, you need to go and buy that.
Okay.
And there's property costs involved, and then infrastructure utility costs to bring the utilities to that field that haven't been there before. And so whatever the cost that we have identified for this today, they only increase whatever that amount is to buy the ground and to bring the utilities to that vacant farm field. And so when the committee was researching, they focused on properties that the city owns, because the city owns properties in different parts all over town, and you don't have the cost to buy that ground.
Right.
And then this versus something, say, up in the north and east part of town, doesn't have road and infrastructure that's really robust to handle maybe a traffic load. Where on Main Street, you've got a 5-lane road that can handle a lot of traffic. And Volunteer Drive, right now Volunteer Drive is a 2-lane road in either direction. But regardless of what happens here, Volunteer Drive is programmed to be a 5-lane road. And so this is a major collector road right next to this artery road. And this is a schematic of what it will look like, not could, because like I said, it's already programmed to become this big. Okay. And if this doesn't happen here, if the Life Center doesn't come here, it will still...
As the population grows, they'll still need that.
Yeah. Because it connects Main Street. It's kind of a belt route from Main Street to Center Street.
Right.
So the traffic flow and ability here is great. It can handle 30,000. It will be able to handle 30,000 trips a day on this road when it's widened. It also has really good access. You have access on the main. You have access on the Volunteer. It has access from all of town. The whole community already knows how to get here. We play sports here, and so if I live up in Maple,
active area,
I can get there already. I can get there on the trail system. So we're at Canyon Elementary. That's located up here. I can get on the trail and
bike down.
I can bike down there if I want to.
Awesome.
It has access to South Utah County. So if I live in Salem, if I live in Woodland Hills, Payson, we would love for them to use the facility. They help pay to operate the facility. They can get to this. It'd be a lot harder if it was up in the portions of town that maybe only Mapleton residents would have easier access to.
Good point.
And so they wanted, so you have some of these factors that they really focused in on and said, this gives us all those factors. When we first announced that this was one of the areas and that it could take some of these soccer fields, we got a lot of feedback. They said, leave them alone.
Yeah, because it's a nice field.
Yeah, they're great fields.
They're great, yeah.
So we received that feedback and said, okay. And we found other ways that we could do it and orient it without affecting those soccer fields. And so all this area that's outlined in blue is what we've said, okay, this is the space that we could put it in, including parking lots, and we would be able to fit it in that area and have all the parking we need, leave this alone. We have always known that this building could potentially be moved, but it probably won't need to be moved. And if it does need to be moved, we know that it could cost about $400,000 to move.
I feel like I know a little bit more about what's going on with the city and purchasing land and the whole Life Center project here. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate having this open house for me.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Yeah.